All right, we're here today with Mr. Smith, the principal of Granite County High School, and I just have a few quick questions for you about on-demand, or not on-demand, but state testing.
Sure.
Are you satisfied with the school's performance overall on these tests, specifically the science, reading, math, and on-demand writing portion?
I think we're making great progress from where we've been, let's say, 7, 8 years ago. The school has grown tremendously in terms of academic and student achievement. We're learning still as a staff. We're learning how to continue to deliver great instruction, and we're learning that when kids do take these assessments that it does provide us some data, and we use that data in every possible way imaginable to help us learn as educators so we can improve our practice.
Right. And in your opinion, did the teachers do a satisfactory job of preparing the students for these exams?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of times what our parents and our students don't know is, you know, our teachers oftentimes at least once, sometimes twice a week, give up their planning period and they meet in what we call PLCs. And that stands for Professional Learning Community. They get together and they have conversations about student achievement, how well kids are doing on assessments, things that they need to change with their instructional practice. They look at the curriculum that we're teaching, and so they do that work consistently. It takes a lot of effort. They've made special plans for our assessments, and we see the fruit of what, you know, all their hard work with how well our kids did.
So that sort of behind-the-scenes program is very effective in a sense.
Absolutely. You know, we've had PLCs now for close to a decade, and you know, our teachers, it's become ingrained in our school. They're used to the work. They very much like to get together as a department and discuss what's going on within their, you know, particular subject area and how well their kids are doing. And you know, that the term PLC, like I said a few minutes ago, stands for Professional Learning Community. These teachers are learners, and they're learning how well their students are doing, and they're learning how to improve their practice. So it's become a very, very important part of our school.
Absolutely. And finally, as an administrator, are you going to implement the same policies for teachers in terms of preparation for these exams? I know myself, we spent a lot of time specifically in Ms. Bowling's English class, learning about on-demand writing and reading portions of state testing. It was a significant chunk of the year, but I think it was effective at teaching us how to take these tests.
Yeah, let me comment a couple things on that. First of all, in terms of on-demand writing, Granite County High School, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there are 232 high schools in the state of Kentucky, and with our on-demand writing scores, we rank 24th in the state. We had nearly 70% of our kids score proficient and distinguished in on-demand writing. So hats off to our kids, first of all, for doing so well. We're very, very proud of that. You know, anytime that you can finish that high in the state in a particular assessment category, that's very, very exciting. And also hats off to our teachers for all the hard work that they put in. That's the first thing. The second thing, what we learned by implementing that on-demand writing plan was we could take a whole lot of the same processes that we did with on-demand writing and apply them to other assessments, such as the ACT. So we've got all of our PLCs right now. We took the mock ACT, what was it, in late September, early October. The PLCs right now are combing through that data, and then they're making and building those plans just like we did for on-demand writing last year. So we're taking the same kind of process and applying it to the other assessment areas in hopes that we have the same type of success.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Smith, thank you for your time.
Very good, thank you.
We're here today with Ms. Brown, the head of the science department here at Granite County High School. I just have a few quick questions for you, Ms. Brown, about state testing last year. So, you're the head of the science department. That's a lot of responsibility that falls on your head, but do you feel like your students performed to your satisfactory on the science portion of the state testing?
Last year, the state testing for the science was a field test for the new assessment system, and we actually don't have results for the field testing for the state accountability, However, going into the next school year, the ACT will be part of the state accountability in science. And based on our ACT scores, we performed exceptionally well considering where we had been the previous years. We showed improvement. So as long as we're showing improvement and growth, we're always happy with those scores.
Excellent. And as the department head, do you feel like the strategies that you and the other science teachers discuss are effective in conveying proper test-taking strategies to the students?
We focus mostly with our juniors in terms of test-taking strategies, and that falls directly onto my shoulders and Mr. Wilkerson's shoulders, who's the chemistry teacher, physics teacher. And we also did torch prep with our juniors last year. So we feel like that really helped prepare them for the test. And moving forward, we are implementing an action plan to bring in our 9th and 10th graders so that they're getting a little bit of that test-taking strategy before they get to the 11th grade year, and they're better prepared going into that accountability system.
All right, so and the last question I have for you is, as the department head, are you going to continue to implement the same strategies for years to come? I know there are going to be some slight alterations to them in order to prove them more effective, but the same general strategy is going to be applied next year and maybe years to come.
We're always looking for improvement. We are implementing a lot of the torch prep strategies, and mastery prep is another program we're also implementing this year. And we've been to ACT trainings so that we have some actual feedback from people that have been trained to take the ACT exam. So we're using all of those strategies. We're always looking for new strategies. We call them tricks of the trade. Anything that I find that I can use in my classroom to help teach the student a more efficient way to take the ACT exam, we're always using those. So, you know, moving forward, we're going to be using what we have, but we're also always looking for new things to help with the test.
All right, thank you for your time, Ms. Brown.
Okay, we're here today with Ms. Bowling, the head of the English department here at Greenville County High School. Ms. Bowling, I'm just going to be conducting a short interview with you, just a few quick questions about last year's state testing. So, like I said, you are the head of the English department, therefore you're responsible for a whole lot of stuff, that behind the scenes, all kinds of goodies. But I would just have a few quick questions for you about last year's state testing. First one being, do you feel like your students performed well up to your standards on the state testing last year?
I think that my students actually far exceeded my expectations. Last year, I only had one class of juniors, and those were the students who were enrolled in my AP English Language and Composition class. And that class consisted of about 20 students. When we got those test scores back, 9 of those students scored perfect on their on-demand writing. That is just the icing on the cake, because many of those students also scored distinguished. In fact, there were very few who were even proficient. And those scores came in at like 291 out of 300. So there's a lot to be proud of. I worked with the majority of those students for 2 years, and they gave me everything they had and then some. And so I couldn't be more proud of that group of kids.
Excellent. Since you are the head of the English department, you're responsible for a lot of the teachings that go on well, you're a teacher yourself, obviously. So are you going to employ the same strategies next year in teaching these students the test strategies that they need to succeed on these exams?
I think that we have a strong system in place in order to teach students the process that is required for successful on-demand writing. We administer multiple mock assessments throughout the course of the school year, and then we take the information from those assessments back to the classroom, and we reteach concepts. We allow students opportunities to see errors, to go back and revise, and I think that is a very effective process. I believe that 69.2% of our students were proficient and distinguished last year, and that percentage is higher than even the number of apprentice tests that we had on our on-demand writing. And so that really speaks to the work that all of the students did in the building. But what's next? We have achieved something great this year. Let's go back and look at that process that we use, those instructional strategies, and then let's see how we can work to make that better, to push the upcoming juniors or the current juniors to the next level of success.
So in the past couple of months, all the students in the building took the ACT exam. All portions of the ACT exam, science, reading, math, and English. So I heard from Mr. Smith that you guys use this information or are currently going through the information in your PLCs to create new strategies to teach specifically the ACT as it is becoming a more and more prominent exam. How is that going? Everything, are you finding results that you expected?
I think that when we chose to administer the ACT to the entire building, we wanted to do it so that we can work to prepare students for years to come for a test that bears so heavily on their futures. And it has been a monumental task. So we are just now, after scanning answers and compiling data, we are just now getting to the point where as educators we can sit down in groups and we can look at that data and we can begin to develop strategies. That's actually something that my team is working on this week, and we're going to start dissecting things. It will definitely be beneficial for every teacher in this building to have that data, because what you can do with that data is you can look at specific areas where students are struggling and you can dissect that and you can focus instruction to drive student improvement. And especially with that ACT, with all content, but especially with that ACT, that is so very important.
Alrighty, Ms. Bowling, thank you for your time today.
You're
This
welcome.
concludes our interview. All right, so we're here today with James Collier, the head of the math department here at Greenville County High School. James, we just got a few quick questions for you about the last year's state testing. First of all, do you feel like the students performed up to your standards? Do you think they did pretty well?
You know, we obviously would like to see everybody in the building get to ACT benchmark, and that is kind of the goal throughout the building. We came a little under that, but we did see progression, and that's the most important thing, is to continue to get closer to that number. And then once we get to that number, then we push forward. But we're getting closer as we go, and hopefully this year was the year that we can finally push over that hump.
Right, so as you said, it's a progression. So the next batch of students you hope to see further improve. Are there any plans on helping that move along?
I think the biggest thing this year is, especially with that junior class, is kind of where the scorecard comes from, is the ACT prep classes this year. We split those into 4 different categories, the 4 categories that you work with through the ACT. And it gives us a lot of time to really specialize on those different topics that you just don't get enough time in a regular classroom setting, or maybe you had that and then it's gone. So this allows us to really go back and see where they're lacking those skills that they need to maybe get that 18 up to a 20 or a 20 up to a 22 or something like that.
Right. So as you said, the ACT is becoming a more and more important exam, and we are starting to focus on that here in the high school itself, the preparatory classes, even prep in classrooms. And do you feel like that's an effective way of getting test-taking strategies to the students?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing, is not only knowing the material, but also taking the test. Believe it or not, these tests, there are ways to take these tests and be successful. When ACT tells us that they are not trying to trick you, it's a lie, okay? We can look at the way they give us the answers and figure that out. But it is, it goes back to the whole thing of that low-hanging fruit. Get the ones that you know first, and then go back through and those questions that really stump you, then use that as your final part. But don't spend 3, 4, 5 minutes on one question and then have to go abacadabra at the end trying to get everything filled in. So
Right.
those test-taking strategies, as well as that, the material kind of section, I think that's the key of what we're trying to focus on now as we move forward.
Right. And as the head of the math department itself, you're responsible for a lot of the teaching strategies involved here in the math department. And just as you're going forward with this, do you have plans to change the strategies you use to teach? Such as, there's obviously a swap to the ACT as a focus, but anything that you can think of that is going to change for the math department or the way you guys teach?
Well, the thing that we're doing now is the mock ACT that we did back in September. We are currently going through and starting data analysis on that. And what we're going to do is that we're trying to focus on where the mistakes were made by the students and what we can do to give the students something back from that. We don't want the students to feel like that mock ACT was just something to keep them busy. It's anything but. The problem of it is when you start into data analysis, it takes a long time. But what our goal is that when we get ready to start into the second semester, and we roll back around to that second ACT, we have a kind of an idea, a foundation built so that we can quickly get the analysis back from the February mock ACT, from the March ACT when that one counts. And the more information we can get and gather to give back to our students, that's kind of where we're focused in the math department.
All righty. Thank you for your time, Mr.
Thank you
Collier.
very much. Appreciate it.
We're here today with Sydney Shoup, a student here at Greenville County High School, a senior in fact, and she has gotten a perfect score on her on-demand writing portion of state testing last year. And we're just going to be conducting a quick interview with you, Ms. Shoup. Do you feel like the teachers did an adequate job of preparing you for these exams, not just on the on-demand, but also on the science, reading, and math portion?
Yes, I really do. I actually struggled a lot with the reading portion, so it was really nice that I had Miss Bowling help me actually for 2 years prepare for that portion, but overall I felt like it was a lot of hard work, but in the end it actually paid off, so I'm very thankful for that.
All right. Are you satisfied with your own performance on these exams?
I actually am, because I'm very hard on myself, which I think really pushed me to do the very best that I could, and like I said, I'm very, very proud of myself.
If there was one piece of advice you could give to a student coming into these exams and preparing for them, what would it be?
I would just say push yourself to do the very best that you can, because in life in general, that's really going to help you with an outcome that you want.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We're here today with Alex Wellman, another senior here at Greenville County High School. And Alex, I just got a few quick questions for you about state testing last year. So, as you know, you've been selected because you did really good on your state testing last year, and I just wanted to know if you feel like the teachers prepared you adequately for the exams.
Yeah, I feel so. I'm pretty sure I had Mr. Robbie Collins last year. He did a pretty good job teaching us about commas, and about whom the bell tolls.
Excellent work. And if you could give one piece of advice to an upcoming underclassman who's about to take these exams, or is about to take maybe an ACT or a more important exam, what would it be?
Just don't stress very much. Wake up early, eat a good breakfast. It usually helps.
All right, Alex. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
All right, we're here today with Sarah Purcell, a senior from Greenville County High School, who has just been informed that she was proficient or distinguished on state testing last year. So, Sarah, how do you feel your teachers prepared you for these exams?
I feel like the teachers prepared us really well, and I thank them for that because it helped me a lot.
Okay, and if you could give one piece of advice to any of the upcoming students who are going to take these exams, what would it be?
I feel like they should just push through it and study and just do as best as they can, and it'll all pay off in the end.
All right, thank you for your time.